Welcome to the E Show, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Founded in 2013, the EHL is your next step on the path to college. Over the past decade, the EHL has established itself as the college placement leader on the East Coast. And now, here's your host, the commissioner of the Eastern Hockey League, Neil Ravin.
Thanks, Jim. And with that, let's bring in Jeff and Anthony. Guys, I said this when we recorded last. In between episodes, 21 teams had their seasons come to an end, combined between the EHL and EHLP. It's only been a couple of weeks, a week and a half, but it feels like a lot happened, right?
Yeah, we've had 21 EHL postseason games, 22 EHLP. Why couldn't we have a symmetrical 21 and 21, Neil and Anthony, huh?
Well,
I know Neil, like,
you know why that is, Jeff? It's because the Mid-Atlantic division of the EHLP was like, we're just going to go straight to the division final. Those two teams took it personally, right, Anthony?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Let's start breaking it down in Around the E Show.
Let's take a look at what's going on around the E Show.
Around the E Show is presented by BioSteel, the sports drink of the EHL. Use the promo code EHLB1. That's EHLB1 for 25% off when you check out at biosteel.com.
And why don't we start in the EHLP and work from south to north, where I teased at one point talking to Jeff, Anthony, that the title of this episode is not gonna be, but could be, expletive inevitable. Effing inevitable, because a lot of what we're about to break down is it feels inevitable, and it felt inevitable all year long that we'd get to a Huntsman 87's divisional final. We wanted this, I think, right?
The script writers are just so lazy at this point, Neil.
Right? Or they just go with their eyes closed. They're just like, yeah, okay, cool. Huntsman 87's done. Huntsman are going to score 13 goals, and they're clinching game against the Renegades. Like, what? Holy smokes.
Do you think they saw the message that the 87s were sending and how convincing they were with their series victory over the Little Flyers, and they wanted to, send a message themselves?
I mean, I guess you could say that, but I think at the same time, it's just, the 87s and Huntsman, they've been the top two teams in the Mid-Atlantic for the last 2 years now. 87's defending champions, Huntsman actually winning the season series this year against the 87s. So I as much as I hate to say it, I don't think it's all that surprising that they're both moving on to the next round.
Yep.
9-0, 7-2. Good days of work for your premier team there, Ant. A lot of good goal calls. Heard a lot of your calls on the 87's Twitter. Sounded great.
Thank you.
What was the combined goal total between the two teams that round?
16-2.
15?
No. I'm saying now combine Huntsman and 87s together.
18 and 16. Quick math, 34.
They scored 34 goals.
And they gave up 7, 5 and 2. 87s gave up 2 goals.
Like,
Here we are.
I will say, Patrick Doherty had a fantastic snipe. Like, he destroyed Frankie Smith's water bottle. I have to give him credit for that. That was an incredible shot, shorthanded.
I think one of the most recent episodes we talked about how, I think it was when we were talking about the Wizards. Obviously, we'll get to the EHL in a little bit, but about how they're high scoring, like games, how those will probably go away come playoff time. But the Premier did not take note of that. They said, Jeff, we're still going to have absolute routes. So much for these OT games, and hasn't been the case in the EHL. We'll get there later, but yeah, EHL Premier, those boys were well rested and ripping water bottles and goal lights and all sorts of good stuff. So,
and I know there was a tiny bit of frustration from that division because they were actually watching the series between the Rangers and the Express very closely. After Adirondack had lost to the Lumberjacks. We're skipping ahead here, but after Adirondack had lost, it became a situation where if the Express had won that series against the Rangers, the Huntsmen and the 87s would both be going to Providence, regardless of what happens right now in this upcoming series. But the Rangers won that series, so them and the Railers both automatically go. So now it's one goes, one doesn't. What's it going to take for the Huntsmen first to I guess it feels like for them, this is the matchup they wanted to break through their rival to get to Providence. What's that going to take for them?
Anthony, what do you think?
The 87s have the experience, so I think for the Huntsmen, they the Huntsmen at the EHLP level, they like to play a gritty game at times where they're not afraid to play the body. They have some big kids on their in their lineup, and I think for them, if they stick to that physical game, then I think it could be used to their advantage. I think the 87s like to play a bit more of a skill structure and a faster game, whereas I think with the Huntsmen, if they just throw around the body, uh, that could really give them a leg up in this division final.
Is Ivan Borisov talking at all about how he could become like the greatest EHLP player of all time if they win this again this year? Because
No, I
he's already got
mean,
2 titles. So
Isn't
he's
he
the
already? Because the right.
leading
no,
scorer
no,
of all time.
he's not going around like that. I think for him, it's just just wanting to go out on a high note. Talking to him off the ice, he really is an incredible kid, and I, no, I think he's just there for his teammates. He wants to make sure that the rest of the team has a great experience in this postseason, and for him, he just wants to have fun,
Yeah.
and wants to go out on a high note. That's the kind of kid he is. So, I think he's been a good leader for this team, and we'll see, what happens in this division final.
For sure. All of the EHL games are already up on the website. I'm still working to confirm a couple things time-wise in the EHLP, but the series for the Huntsmen and 87s will be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And if you're wondering, again, those that weren't following along at the end of the regular season, yes, the 87s finished technically 1 point behind the Huntsmen, but they played one fewer game. So
That's right.
that's why we did the points percentage, and technically the 87s are the 1 seed, so they host games 1 and 3, with 1 ticket on the line between the Huntsmen and the 87s to make it to Providence. You move up from there to the Boston division, and this is where it feels like effing inevitable, because this is what happened last year. They played last year. They both knew where they were going. The question is, one of them is going to be the 4 seed when all is said and done, when you enter Providence, and one of them will be the 1 seed, right? Is there, you saw last year, the Railers are the ones that lost this series and then went as the at-large bid. Does it make a difference?
I don't know. Some of these teams I feel like will say yes and some will say no. And then if you look at the track record of success or non-success, it's kind of mixed, but I mean, you obviously want to finish with the best possible standing you can, right, Neil and Anthony, because that'll put you with the best schedule, like we've said all year long. So
and remember, when it comes to the 4 seed, they're the one that plays that quick turnaround, right? You play the last game, or I shouldn't say the last game, the second game, or whatever you want to call it, on Thursday, 8 p.m., and then you follow it up and you have the 11 a.m. on Friday. So as I mentioned, the Railers last season lost to the Rangers. So the Rangers were the 1 seed entering. The Railers were the 4 seed. They did the quick turnaround. Ultimately, they ended up in the championship game regardless. They went to double overtime. I don't think the 1-4 made a difference, but it's one of those things, like, Anthony, when you go into this series, when you're the Rangers and the Railers, I know you want to avoid injury, but like, how hard do you play, I guess?
Well, wasn't it a very fierce series last season?
It was huge. and then I remember when the Railers faced the Rangers on the final day of the round robin, the Railers already knew that they were in the championship game and they still played hard. So I feel like we're going to get that again, right?
Yeah. I think with Coach John Fine-Lease, he does not want his team to take its foot off the gas pedal at all. Where it's just, if you have a game to play, you give it 100%. And that's something that I really respect. And I think, too, one thing that we probably haven't talked about yet with the 1 seed versus the 4 seed is getting the last line change.
Yep.
Right? Because
huge.
With the attention to detail for these coaches, for these programs, I think for them, that's a very important thing. You want to get good matchups, especially when you're going up against teams that are a bit closer to your skill level. especially in
Sure.
the Frozen Finals. So I think for them, even if it's something as simple as fighting for the last line change when going to Providence, I think for them it's still something worth going after.
For sure. And they're battle tested, right? I mean, the Railers had to go through Valley to get to the position that they're in. Obviously, they controlled the first game. I want to say it was like 3-1 or 4-1. But then went to overtime in the second game. And then that Express Rangers series, game one goes to double overtime, game two goes to overtime, game three, you would have thought went to overtime too, but wasn't as
Yeah.
close. But they're both battle tested and both going back to Providence again for the upteenth time. But we just have to figure out what seed they'll be. One will be the 4, one will be
Rangers,
the
Railers.
one will be the 1. And remember, for those that are, family or friends of those teams, if you lose this series, you technically get the worst draw of the schedule in Providence. But it almost didn't make any difference at all for the Railers last year because they ended up in double overtime of the championship game. Wrapping it up in the New England division, Anthony, I sent you a video from Lumberjacks Instagram, but I didn't put any text. I just sent you the video. I should have said like, hey, you got to get like 10 seconds in here.
No, I'm glad the way you did that because you sent me that video. It was the Lumberjacks, the final buzzer when they swept Adirondack. So I'm listening. I'm just like, okay, Vermont swept, I know. And Liam Sample, the play-by-play announcer, basically read my preview for the Lumberjacks because I did the why each team can win.
Yep.
Now, I'll be very honest. I think at that point I was 3,500 words deep. I was really tired. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm just like, what the heck do I write about the Lumberjacks? So I wrote, now it'll take a Herculean effort to knock down or stop the Adirondack Junior Thunder attack because let's face it, Adirondack was really good offensively this year. But crazier things have happened in the EHLP. So Liam read that on air and said, well, folks, the crazy has happened. And I just thought that was electric. That was incredible. I loved it. And now I'm a believer for the Lumbies.
It's I want to do some of what Liam was doing at the finals though now. Have the broadcaster camera on you guys, right? I thought that was a pretty cool angle. And I do want to say this. It is unfortunate for Adirondack, and I know this comes as, sour grapes or whatever. Another great season. And again, Anthony, in next year's EHLP playoff preview, I'm sure going to write they're looking for revenge again, right?
Yeah.
It's just maybe they've drawn the short straw here, and they've got a team that just plays with almost house money, if you will, and knows that, they're the underdog. They have nothing to lose. Leave it all out there. And like the Avalanche last year, Vermont this year sweeps them. Now, Vermont is hoping that it works out the way the Avalanche did last year, where they pull off the upset, then they win again, then they go to the finals. It's going to take them knocking off the Wolves, though, to get there. How's that going to happen?
Well, yeah, I guess in one hand, you can say that Adirondack, for lack of a better term, they started to fall off a little bit at the end of the season. They had a tough loss I think in the final game of their showcase in Aston. But that's not to take away anything for the Lumberjacks, because whether it was them playing well or, Adirondack not playing as well or a bit of both, now Vermont believes that they can beat anybody, and rightfully so. So they're going to play with moxie. They're going to play with a little bit more swagger. So I think that can give them a big boost heading into this game against the Wolves, because you think, okay, we just beat really skilled and a big team in Adirondack because they have a lot of big skaters. They're probably thinking like, okay, yeah, now we can take on the Wolves, no problem. And I just think he'll set up for an incredible matchup.
Yeah, and that series most likely will be Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. I should have mentioned Railers Rangers probably Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. Both of all three schedules will be posted today. At some point when you're listening to this, those schedules will be up on the website. When it comes to the Wolves, though, the player to me that stands out is obviously Harrison Kramer. I mean, when he wanted to, he just scored in the first round series against the Avalanche, including 4 goals in the first game. And he's only a 2006, which is just so crazy to think about. In his second year, in the EHLP too, as an 06. So
You got Nick Smith, the 07 from the Huntsman. This is insane. These kids are
Yeah.
I was
literal
talking
children.
I was talking with the 87s coaches where if I had a vote for that prospect of the year, I probably would have gone with Smith because to do that as an 07, you
Yeah,
know,
what do you finish with, like 32
32 points in 32
Yeah.
games.
Wow. That's unbelievable
But I mean,
to be able to do that.
with the numbers that Kramer's been putting up, he
Yeah.
rightfully earned that too. So
he had-
nothing to take away from him.
Him and Spakuza, is that how we say it?
Yep.
yes.
Yeah, one
So
of Jake's favorites. Those were two big Philly guys.
for sure. So one of those two teams will make it, Wolves or Lumberjacks, out of the New England division, and one of them will make it from down south, 87s or Huntsman, and of course they're going to join both the Railers and the Rangers there. We know that 1 and 4, we have an idea of who they will be. The 2, 3 we'll find out. And then we'll have a round robin that starts a day early for those that haven't noticed. We are starting things a day early in Providence next week.
Joe.
Yes.
No Easter for us, baby.
Yes, exactly. So that sets where we're at now in the EHLP, ready for 3 division finals. To the EHL we go, and I say, and I've teased a few times how this episode really should be called effing inevitable, but for a little bit, it wasn't inevitable. There were some hiccups and hurdles along the way at the EHL level, and I think I'll start north. We went from south to north. Now we'll go north to south, work back down.
Beautiful.
Valley, the Warriors gave the Avalanche everything they could handle, and they had them on the ropes from the second they won game 1 in overtime. When you lose game 1 in a best of 3 series, even when you come back and tie the series up at 1, to me, it feels like your back is still against the wall until you win the series. Do you guys feel the same way?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I mean, we all know and love Ryan McGrath and the Warriors and Michael Clardy. That team is improved. They've fought hard and got better and better each year. And they proved that by winning game 1 in overtime, right? They were like, we don't care who the Avalanche are. We truly don't. Give the Avalanche credit, right? They're fighting through a ton of injuries right now. They have no Andrioli, no Hagnes, no Angelopoulos. Those are all top points getters for them. Andrioli was second on the team. Hagnes was 4th. Angelopoulos only got into 13 games, but had 17 points. A guy that's been there before was with Chris and Mario last year that produced, and they were still able to persevere and get out of there. Neil, me and you were talking about the whole Sam Bowes in game 1 too, right? Kind of maybe seeing ghosts a little bit against his old team. But then he rights the ship. Good for him, right? Then he wins the final 2 games and says, enough with you guys. We're moving on. So yeah, I mean, give Valley credit. It was that we thought that was going to be a little bit more. I thought that was going to possibly go 3 games. I'll be honest.
And I think there's something to be said too for Valley, the fact that they made the playoffs on the final day where they needed at least a point against the Rough Riders. They took that game into overtime, so they got the point, they got in, and then they gave it their all against the Avalanche.
I'm not going to lie, Anthony, I kind of wanted that Cinderella storyline in Providence.
I
Like,
did too.
you needed a point the last day to get in. And like,
oh great, here comes the call from Chris.
Yeah.
See, I know you're biased against the Avalanche.
Well, listen, Anthony, if he wants to say bias, he can go to the EHL website, go under the media tab on the toolbar, right? Click Fantasy Challenge, and he can see that myself, Marc-Andre Dumont, Joe Chase, Logan Iliff, Kevin Unger, all 5 of us picked the Avalanche to win that series. 4 of them picked the Avalanche to win in 2. I picked in 3. That's all I have to say. Now, I'm not in first place. We'll get to that in a second.
Over.
We'll get to that in a second. But where it feels inevitable now is they get Seacoast again. I'm having deja vu, guys. Like, this is last year.
Deja vu all over again.
Just wait till we get to the East Division, Neil. That deja vu is going to continue, bud.
Like, this is last year all over again. I mean, I will say this. I was surprised. I thought, if anything, despite my picks, I thought maybe the Seacoast Wolves series was more likely to go to 3 games and the Avalanche Warriors could have ended in 2. It was reverse. It did feel like, though, once the Spartans pulled ahead in game 2, you look back, they won game 1 in overtime despite a late game tying goal from Lacus. It's just actually, it's just surprising. The Wolves had such a great Philly showcase.
And was it the first game, maybe the overtime game? We've always seen that too, right? The comeback,
was only
like
a minute
you lose
and a
an
half
OT.
in.
Yeah,
Goal.
but I'm saying more not like as far as exhaustion wise, but how much that
Mentally.
takes the air out
Yeah.
of you. Yeah. I think that definitely comes into when you've played this much hockey too, and you gotta, it's not like you just delete the 46 games we just played previous to that, right? But
Yeah.
I think mentally it kind of, you're like, oh, we were right there, and you're like, all right, you try to be let's get back up, guys. We still got one more game left, and yeah, I mean, so we saw Avs Warriors go 3. I thought that was going to go 3. I thought the Warriors might pick them off. I don't know. Sorry,
Yeah.
Chris. I love you. I can't wait for your text, but I thought that with them being a little banged up, I really thought I thought the Warriors were maybe primed, like you guys said too, with being the way they finished that regular season. They were just moving like a freight train running, and they, just didn't have enough steam left. And I credit to the Avs for, again, next man up. That's what they always have been like. That's why we haven't had a Frozen Finals without them. And I think Seacoast, Anthony, you did an awesome job with your first round preview, highlighting Miles Kidd and Michael Bischetto. Kid with a game winner.
Call your shot.
Right? Seriously, literally. Anthony's coming up roses. He calls out Miles Kidd and Mike Bischetto. Miles Kidd, game-winning goal. Bischetto assists the game-winning goal. Those two are going to be huge, huge difference makers.
Yeah, well, because Miles Kidd had the 2 goals in that championship game last year for the Railers at the EHLP level.
And when he finished
And
with like 18 points in the Frozen Finals or so, it was something
yeah,
crazy
I
number.
mean, and here's the thing too, because I actually had a good conversation with Ethan Poligo about this because now he's with New York Apple Corps, where it's
Mhm.
like just because, if they're in the EHL now, just because they may have been in the EHLP last year doesn't diminish their playoff experience because
Not at all.
whatever league you're in, EHLP or EHL, it's still a battle where you're going up against the best of the best. So you have to be on your A game. You have to be focused and dialed in. And right now, Bischetto and Kidd, like they're proving it right now.
Yeah.
Because in the regular season they proved that they can play in the EHL, and now they're taking that playoff experience from last year and they're applying it this year, where they're playing or they're thriving under pressure,
Right.
where they know what it feels like, and they're getting the points now.
But that's why we all love and watch sports and work in sports, right? It's very different when you put a team in a pressure cooker situation as opposed to there's nothing on the line. Regular season, 12 o'clock Wednesday afternoon game. You go into the bright lights of Schneider Arena. Why do you think we do it there, right? Because it creates a little bit more of an atmosphere and more of what these guys are going to have to come. Go play, and if you're going to go play D1, D2, D3, where are all those guys playing right now as far as playoffs are concerned? Packed bars, loud environments. That can change your way of thinking and your way of playing.
Jeff, you mentioned this earlier with Sam Bowes knocking off his former team in Valley in the first round. Did you guys know that David Basin began the season with the Seacoast Spartans?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Now they play each other.
That's
Inevitable. I'm just going to keep saying that word 1,000 times, right?
Yep.
Take a sip every time I say inevitable because it feels like we were just destined for this, right? What's it going to take for Seacoast to knock off the Avs? Who wins this series, guys?
I will. Chris, I love you. I want something new. I want Seacoast to get there.
Hey, we heard that. We've been there every year.
Jefferson, you suck. I hate you. I'm gonna get the middle finger emoji and everything else.
How crazy is that storyline? The Avalanche have been there every year. In order for Seacoast to knock them off this year, they have to beat the forward of the year that they traded there. I mean, it worked out kind of okay for them. They got Derek Greer, who I wrote his commitment last week. He's going to Nichols. I mean, you look at his point total; it took off once he moved from Seacoast to New Hampshire. So, I mean,
I was gonna say, Neil, Coach Strider was very confident in that trade. Everyone was talking about it right after. Because what showcase do we have? I think that was the Newington showcase.
Yes,
right. So he was like, "Are you kidding me? Derek Greer, Aaron Racino all day." We won't get into too much of the nitty gritty and stuff of everything that was said behind closed doors. But yeah, we'll just say that Coach Strider was very confident in that trade. I think both teams won that trade. But again, how interesting is it also? We're seeing, I feel like this year, the trade deadline was so impactful, right? We talked about Croshaw. We're going to get to the Central. But Miles Kidd was a Railer before he was a Spartan. And Bischetto was with the Rangers last year. He's been with the Spartans all year. But like just the slight movement of some of these big puzzle pieces to different teams and what they've done in the past with Kidd and Bischetto with the Railers and Rangers, and now hopefully helping the Spartans get over the hump. It's just the coaches are doing a nice job of pushing these like little 1 or 2 buttons to kind of change up their rosters and help them start to, move on.
And the thing about the Spartans too is that even though they traded David to the Avalanche midway through the season, their offense was still pretty good. Jonathan, uh, is it Groth?
Groth, yeah.
Groth. Yeah, I mean he had a spectacular season. He still put up like 60 plus points, and he was third or fourth in the league. So
Jason Clare, another great kid. His brother Size over at UNH, top line kid. So that's a great hockey family. Carson Walters, Colby Walters' brother from the old Apple Corps team. Yeah, they have a lot of good puzzle pieces.
So they don't have any problems putting the puck in the net. I think for Seacoast, I think it's a matter of their defense and their goaltending. Evan Plunkett, I know he had a pretty good series against the Wolves. Game 2, he stopped 25 of 26 shots. So I think if Plunkett can kind of rise to the occasion and prove himself as someone going up against Sam Bose, who's been really good at the EHL for a couple years now, then I think the Spartans really do have a chance to kind of flip the script here.
Yeah.
We're all nervous to say, we're like, they can win the Avalanche.
Well, and listen, like, I don't know if he's going to listen to this podcast, but I'm sure if they can flip the script. No, I was going to say Carson Whitman, who had a breakaway in overtime last year against the Avs.
Oh.
Like, I remember watching that, and we went glove side, and Parema got it with the glove, and I was like, man, 1 inch higher, and like, that's hockey though, like 1 inch higher, and it's a totally different,
right,
outcome in Providence, right? Because Seacoast makes it. So there's your matchup in the North. The East Division teams are hearing me say the words inevitable over and over again, but saying it really took a lot of effort to get it to the inevitable stage of the 4th straight season where the Express are facing the Railers with a ticket to the Frozen Finals on the line. But you look at all the games that took place before, this Express Rangers series. Start with the Seahawks versus Terriers. The Terriers go into the locker room at the end of the second period up 4-1. They lose the game 6-4. What?
For a lowest scoring team in the league, scores 6 goals in the playing game?
JJ Alger, who had 6 goals all season, gets a hat trick.
Yeah. Like, oh, okay. Like, and then you fast forward to their matchup with the God, I'm blanking here for a second. The Express. They were up in game 1. They lose a 1-goal game. Then they win an overtime game 2. Did you guys hear the game winner from Jim? Yeah. Yeah.
Better call Saul.
Is that so? I was told that is a Breaking Bad reference.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which one did he use? Which line did he say?
He said that the Express are in trouble. They better call Saul.
If you have a question and he didn't answer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or better yet, call Tyrone. So I haven't watched Breaking Bad, so I don't know that, but I guess
great
that's
show, Neil. You should. You should watch it. It's very good.
But here's where like my head can't keep like meshing things together, right? You go 1-goal game, overtime game, emphatic 6-1 victory in game 3 or 6-2, whatever the final score was. Like just like at the EHL level with the Rangers and the Express, like it didn't feel like that series ended the way that it should, I guess you could say.
When you look at the Express level, yeah.
No, with the EHL level, the Express Seahawks, like a 1-goal game, an overtime game, and then like that in game 3, like it didn't feel like it should have ended that way. I know the better team ultimately won, right? You could say that, but it felt like we deserved better in game 3.
Yeah, what the hell, guys? What the hell?
No more triple OT games.
Well,
only.
Why don't we go there,
Rangers
Anthony?
Wizzies, yeah. I was gonna say when you were saying games, Neil, I was like, are you talking about the games that poor Colin Casey had to be on the call for 9 games?
He was entertaining though, because he was talking about how like his legs are getting sore.
By traffic.
He's talking about how his legs are getting sore, so I got to text him someone that was like, "Get this guy a chair."
He was like, you know what? This is actually a good thing because I'm going to miss all the traffic on the pike.
Funniest line though ever was, so this is the second straight year, right, Anthony, that the Wizards have played a 3 overtime game.
Those poor guys.
They won it. They won that game last year. They lose it this year, and I was told off the record, I'm gonna get an ice bill from the Wizards next season if this happens again, because it's just you can't expect this is the beauty of overtime, right? Like you could have the Spartans Wolves that you cut the ice and a minute and a half in it's over, and whatever youth practice is on right afterwards, they probably just got right on because the ice was fine just to go, right?
Crisp, clean, delicious.
Like this game like just kept going and going and going. And again, I don't know if you saw this, Jeff. There was kind of a controversial. The Rangers scored, I want to say, like 7 minutes
I did see it. I couldn't stop watching it. It was
into
like a
the
car
first
accident.
overtime.
Oh,
I don't know if it was a good goal or not. Ultimately, it got waved off.
yeah.
So for 2 overtimes, I was like, if the Wizards win this, is it like momentum going into game 3? Because I thought last year when they played the longest game ever, like similar to what we just said with the Wolves and Spartans, you mentally lose that heartbreaker. How do you reset things for game 3? It didn't work out for the Wizards last year. The Express still came back and won game 3. If the Wizards had won that overtime game, guys, do you think this Rangers team, which had its backs against the wall last year multiple times, would have found the momentum to win the series, or do you think the Wizards could have stolen it if they had got that game in overtime? Because they only lost game 1 by a goal.
Yeah,
I think that's too hard to say because the Wizards had such a great year, and I think those were two teams who were honestly pretty evenly matched. So I think game 3 would have been a toss-up. Also, I actually do want to point out, I did a Q&A with Will Rice, and this did not make the final cut of the article, but I had actually asked Will if he was familiar with the triple overtime game the Wizards had previously played. And he actually said, well, yeah, I heard about it from some teammates that, that they've played some pretty long OT games. So he was saying, he was wondering if it was going to happen this year, and sure enough, it did.
Yes. I'm sure he's thinking to himself in overtime, like, hey, I'd love to score this one right now, and call Anthony back up, be like, put that question in.
It does feel like a crime, though, Neil. I agree that we should have gotten a game 3 out of that. And then the crazy thing, what if the Wizards had pulled it off? Do they play Ingram again? Do you put Ackerman in? I think the Rangers are probably going to ride Aiden Pierce, even though he made 69 saves on 71 shots. Holy hell. Thomas Walker-esque there for Aiden Pierce, but you got Charles Watson on the other side. Like, I don't know, would you have, if you get to a game 3 after a 3 OT game, do you have to put a new goalie in? These are all questions. It just feels, I feel horrible for the East Coast Wizards. I feel like that team just absolutely loaded. Kolovos, Rice, as Anthony just mentioned, Aiden O'Connell with his unbelievable pace, just guy after guy after guy, and for them to not be able to come out, like, again, as we said, that's hockey and that's playoffs. It's tough, but
I'm sure just like Seacoast wants to go through the Avs.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure in their locker room they said if we get Valley, we get Valley, right? But I'm sure they want to go through the Avs to get there. The same with the
Wizards
Express.
want the Rangers.
Well, no, and the Express want the Rangers, right? The Express want the Rangers to go through.
100%.
My point to just close the East Division, there were so many 1-goal and overtime games in the games leading up to where we are now that it could have been not inevitable. But it is inevitable, and we get Express versus Rangers for the 4th straight year. And they had a triple overtime game last year, so we'll see about that.
Maybe Tyler Arago gets the treat of a triple OT call. I'm sure he would love that. No tie.
To the Central Division we go, and I keep repeating this word, guys, but this is the one that felt the most
inevitable.
It felt like we were going to get there, right? We were going to get there with
the yes, it was, Jeff.
Versus different from last year.
Yes, but it felt like this was the matchup that we were heading on a freight train towards.
Yes, I
gotta clear my schedule and get out there tomorrow, right? I mean,
dude, right?
They haven't played.
Noon time?
Tomorrow's game is at noon. They haven't played since the trade happened. Like, so this is a different apple core team.
But not, and it's not just Croshaw. You look at Luke Golisano. You look at Maziarchuk.
Yep.
You look at several of those new players for Apple Core, where again, they were a good team before they added these guys. But you get Maziarchuk, you get Golisano, you get Ryan Croshaw, and it put them over the top. That's why it's a big reason why they got to that 20-game winning streak. And Applecore, after the winning streak, hit a little bit of a rough patch. They struggled a little bit in the showcase, but I mean, Neil, I know you've brought it up a couple times. It can be good to have that adversity because in the first round they took care of business, and now they're probably getting the matchup that they've been looking forward to all season.
They're also like tighter now than they've ever been. Congrats again to our boy Lenny Caglione for getting head coach of the year. But he had said to us at the last regional showcase at Exeter, he'd said to me that they had done some team bonding exercises and guys were getting really emotional, he said, in the locker room. And he was just like, this group is so tight, Jeff. It's unbelievable. And we're just getting tighter and tighter. So again, there's another crime that we had all four of those Railers Applecore regular season matchups. So done so early after everything happened with all the movement on the rosters. But this has to go 3 games, Neil and Anthony, right? Like this literally, if this only goes 2.
Well, and let's say this, like the Applecore Providence almost went 3 games, right? That was a 1-0 lead for Providence for a long time in game 2. Then New York scored to tie it up, force overtime. Absolutely gross overtime goal. I'm not sure if you guys saw it, but Hunter Lee picked up the puck on the near side and went like short side over the blocker's shoulder. And I was like, wow, like that's what sends you to the next round. Like that's pretty special. It's
no Patrick Doherty goal.
I don't know if you've seen this one, Anthony. This was pretty damn good.
I did. They're actually identical shots.
Oh, okay.
But no, you're right. I mean, Lee just picked that top corner, and anytime you can beat a goaltender short side, you just know like it's a really good shot.
So funny. I was actually texting with Joe LaChase throughout the game. Right. He's obviously he's part of the round of champions in the fantasy challenge right now, an Applecore alum, and he was behind me. He was watching, I was watching, somehow his feed was behind mine. Maybe his, like, you know how you have to click live sometimes to be like fully live. I think he was still like 30 seconds behind. And I wrote like, bang, there it is. What a goal that was. He's like, don't ruin it.
No.
I was like, I didn't know you were behind, man. Right. So, but we were going back and forth. He had the funniest line because we were texting. I said, that player that just scored that goal is an 05, right? He's like, yes, of course. Lenny pulled some kids out of preschool to play for the Applecore this year. They're so young. I was like, damn, dude.
Wow.
He's like, yeah, they got a couple of 06s. They're absolute studs. I was like, yeah. I was like, it's too bad. It's too bad you're not junior eligible. You can come back. But I mean,
you're too old.
This
old
year,
guys.
Is Lenny gonna try to recruit Chase now?
Maybe. If he can skate as fast as he can crawl, Anthony, look out. I'll tell you that much.
We gotta get those 23s out there.
Chase already has the physical game now. He loves to smash and whack. He's a big whack-a-moler.
Jeff, the other day, I'm sitting on the floor, and he crawls over, and he throws Nash's ball off my head.
Yeah. I've seen him hit you many times, Dad.
And I was like, huh. Like, I'm proud. Like he's asking for it. He probably would get 2 minutes for instigating, right? But like he's asking for it. But I can't
see Gino and Joe.
Well, I don't want to get the call from daycare, Jeff. That's like, hey, you got to come pick your kid up. Like
right.
he just got physical.
We're sending Chase to the disciplinary department. He needs to get looked at.
But then
you might, buddy. I don't know.
The Applecore matchup. You want to talk about goals scored? I mean, the Railers. Just as we always say, Anthony took it personally, and they just put the puck in the net again and again.
11 times? Did you really have to score 11 times? Holy heck.
6 and 6 in the first one, or 7 in the first one?
6, 6-1 and 11-3. Whoa.
So I mean, this upcoming series,
Chiefs, Olivia Scalise,
yeah,
Greg Heffernan, Brandon Johnson, our poor friends in Chiefs Nation.
This upcoming series, I feel like it's either going to be like these touchdown games, or the scoring is like just
2-1
off the charts, or the scoring will just run dry for both teams. We'll have like a 2-1 game. But what a series! What a series this is lined up to be.
I might have to try to get up to the WIC tomorrow too, if I can with you.
Okay, let me know.
We'll talk.
We can have lunch right there at the.
I'm sure Jake is going to be really excited. I feel
Yes.
like this game more than anything is going to have at least one game that's going to go into like double or triple overtime.
Oh, give it to
It
me.
Game one is important in every series, guys, but is it like extra important in this one? Especially if you're the Apple Corp, you can
Mhm.
go out and get game one, and then you go back home. You probably put the Railers in a mental position that they've never been in,
See,
right?
I don't know. With these two teams, though, they both seem so like battle tested and mentally tough. And with Sean and Lenny as the coaches, I don't know, Neil. That's a good question. I feel like I might actually say no on this. I think the way these two teams are built with how talented they are and just mentally, like I just said, with their leaders from up top and just leaders on the teams themselves, I don't know. I feel like whoever loses game one would still be like, nah, we're still in this. We get two more shots.
You could
Do you
argue
think
that
that, man?
Apple cores probably face a bit more adversity. So if you want to say battle tested in that regard, then maybe they have the leg up. But I think for the Railers too, that it's just unfinished business because how many times have they had spectacular regular seasons, both at the EHL and EHLP level, and they just haven't gotten it done yet.
Yep.
They still have not won a championship despite, all the success they've had over the last few years. And at some point, it just has to happen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think after, last season, because I think it happened late in the regular season where they lost Big Mike. So I think now they're, trying to win one in his honor, try to kind of finish what he really started off over in Worcester.
Yeah.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah. I mean, look at two EHLP trips to the Frozen Finals, two championship game losses, two EHL trips to the Frozen Finals. The first year was when we actually had two round robin pools, and they ended up in the semifinals, one game away from the championship game. And then they did that again
Then last
last
year
year.
too, yeah.
Yeah,
Against the
after
Rangers, that's
after
right.
winning game one of that series, lost two straight to the Rangers to be one game away. So,
Mm.
um, they will they would be the number one seed in Providence if they are able to get past the Apple Core and go back to the Frozen Finals for the third straight year. Um, but hey, should be an awesome series between these two teams.
And
Um,
still no possibility of a late season edition of an at large.
no, 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 I can't do that. Can't do that. And then
Check your notes, folks.
for the last series, maybe this is what forced me to say inevitable so many times. Is because it's
That's not the name of this
well,
episode,
no,
then.
it's because it's the one series that isn't, one versus two, and it's like the season the Bears had, the moments Team Maryland had, the moments that the Philadelphia Hockey Club had throughout the season, the start that the Huntsmen went on to start the season. And then once again, Anthony, it's 87s versus Little Flyers. Like, just like every year they have to play each other in the playoffs. Every year.
Yeah.
Fourth straight year, third time for the division finals.
Did
And
they
you
sign some contract with the Hockey Gods? It was like a 6-year deal or something?
Well, listen, I'm gonna cut deep on Anthony because he put this in the chat. I know exactly where he's going.
Oh,
This is Louis Finnegan Tosay from last year, and the whole series goes differently, right?
I'm Peter Valabona,
Yeah.
who's still
who
there?
had yep, he's been one of the leaders for this team, and I think he's going to be a player that will have a chip on his shoulder.
Yep.
But you're going up against the MVP of the league in Jack Costable, who is Mr. Automatic on the power play.
Yep. For sure.
So I mean, yeah, it's just like you said, Neil, freaking inevitable.
It's the fourth straight year of facing each other. Last year was technically a first round matchup. So this is the third time in the division finals, and they each have one victory. So this is the rubber match, right? Until they face again next year.
Well,
But
it's also interesting because you think about it, and the Little Flyers have actually won the last two.
Yep.
Because the 87s then went to the wild card game where they beat the Chiefs, and then they got back to Providence,
Yeah.
and then they beat the Little Flyers in the round robin, before we went to the semifinal. I mean, Anthony LaRusso was just bugging me about about the 87s championship that year, where it's like, oh well, they got the they lost to us and they still got in.
But yeah, my point, Anthony DePaulo, was this is the third time where there's been one ticket on the line to the finals. And
True.
they've each won, and then each won once in that regard. I do love this. Alo's awesome. He's a e-show favorite, right? You guys, I'm sure, saw all of the posts that I made throughout on Instagram of a team picture celebrating so and so is off to the next round. I did it individually for 6 teams. I combined it together for the 87th and Little Flyers. Just because it just felt like I had to, right? So there's a picture of the 87 celebrating by their bench. There's a picture of the Little Flyers celebrating, and then there's a picture of, I don't remember which 87, but he's yelling at Logan Downs, and they're like going back and forth. So to me, it felt like the perfect post to do. So when I made these posts, I invite each team to be a collaborator so that they share it on their feed also. What I didn't know, this is an apology to Alo, public apology right now. It works out fine for the 6 teams that were individual, but if Alo was to hit accept, the first picture that's part of the post was 87's. So all of this profile grid that's orange, black, and gray would just have this little blue corner over there. Because it wouldn't show the Little Flyers picture first. He's like, that's why I didn't hit accept. And I was like, you know what? I get that.
More symmetry.
I get that.
I don't know. That sounds pretty cool from my point of view. He should have just hit accept.
But I did do it that way. Listen, I did it that way because I wanted the most likes, and it got 542. So just saying, that's why I did it that way. That was why I did it that way. It was the most. Just saying. But hey, this is where it does feel inevitable. Little Flyers versus 87s again, with a trip to Providence on the line. So, as I mentioned earlier, each one of the 4 division schedules, division final schedules, is already on the website. So we'll break that down more in what to watch for. But we're dropping this podcast on Monday, March 18th, and we have 2 game ones tomorrow to kick things off right away for everyone. So that'll do it though for Around the E Show. Now I have to get on a little bit of a soapbox here, Jeff. You may need to turn my volume down for this next segment because I have a lot of things I want to say during the E-Show Fantasy Challenge.
I'm scared.
Now it's time for the E-Show Fantasy Challenge. Follow along on the EHL app. Available now for free on both Apple iOS and Android.
So first off, we always talk about Yahoo in our league, right?
Oh, is that still going on?
Oh, I missed the playoffs by 1 game, right?
No.
I missed the playoffs to Justin's friend Ryan by 1 game. That's right. Ryan beat me in that one matchup where I went to bed on Sunday night and I won the matchup, and I woke up on Monday and I had lost the matchup because of a freaking point change.
Right.
So I lost to Ryan by 0.1. And I missed the playoffs by 0.1.
Can I do a late season the time I beat you recently? Can I just give you that? Can I lay down and give you that win? My 6-16 bummy teams going home for the winter.
The way that my team spiraled down the stretch, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I lost 7 of my last 8. So the way that,
so you're like, you know what? F you guys, you don't belong in the playoffs.
Well, so I lost.
You belong in DraftKings.
I lost that was week 10 when I lost by a 0.1, right? Then I went loss, win, loss, win, loss, 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 win, loss, loss, loss. So I didn't deserve to make it. And here's what the silver lining that I'll try and find in all this is that I only want 6 teams to make the playoffs anyways, because I feel like
kind of cheaps it out if you do.
Yeah, I mean, you got to, if you finish 1-2, you got to get some credit for that, right? So, I will fall on the sword and be the guinea pig by 0.1 to fight the battle in the off season for our fantasy league to change how many teams make the freaking playoffs. So,
right. Can have a majority vote. We got 12 owners. We're gonna have an owners meeting.
Yeah,
I'll see you in Florida. We'll do it down there.
All right, I'll take a breath now.
Take a breath. Take a sip of water.
And switch to DraftKings, Trev.
And switch to DraftKings, Neil, because we know hockey games move fast. But with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner in the NHL, you can score faster than anything happening on the ice. This week, new customers can bet just $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app with code THPN. New customers can bet just $5 on the NHL and get $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. The crown is yours. Do you have a gambling problem? If so, you can call 1-800-GAMBLER. You can visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, you can call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY, which is 467-369. In Connecticut, help is also available for problem gambling. You can call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void that if you live in Ontario. Bonus bets do expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2024, all rights reserved.
So I will now share my screen, guys, and you will see where things are at in the round of champions. So
Dun, dun, dun.
instead of having, individual players selected during the playoffs, we did a bracket, as I was telling you guys back on the previous episode. God, what was that? March 6th, 12 days ago, right? So
6 months ago? What?
yeah, so every single one of us picked who would win the play-in rounds in the EHL.
BJT, all wrong.
Yeah,
Wrong.
Who would win the play-in
Next.
rounds in both divisions, and then we made our first round and second round picks, and we picked how many games each series will go. So yes, Joe Chase is in first place
72 points.
with 72. The top two advance. Okay.
So be all apple core, Kevin Unger right there in second.
It could be, but here's where I feel like I control my destiny.
58 for Neil Ravin.
And
58 for Marc-Andre Dumont.
And here's how I control my own destiny, right?
Let's hear it.
Bang, right there. EHLP second round. I'm the only person that picked the Wolves to win the series. Right? Everybody else is Adirondack. Now, if the series goes 3 games too, I'll get 8 points. So when you look at the picks everybody else has, we all have the Avalanche, right?
Same.
The majority of us have the Railers, some have the Apple Core. Sorry, Anthony. No one's going to get picks or any points for the South Division of the EHL because everybody picked the Bears or Maryland, right?
That's a skill issue.
Yeah. So there's a couple of us that have the Express over the Rangers, a couple of us that have the Rangers over the Express. The person that has Team Maryland also had the Wizards, right? At the EHLP level, we all have the Railers, and then there's kind of a split between 87s and Huntsmen. So there's enough disparity there, and when you compare who has what picks, that I feel like as long as I get 2 of the following 3 between the Express EHL, Wolves EHLP, and Huntsman EHLP, it's all close enough between myself, Kevin Unger, Marc-Andre Dumont, and Logan Iliff that I'll at least get to the 2 seed. Right? That's why I feel good. How it works in Providence with the 1 and the 2 seed, the two guys that make it, right? It's a draft, if you will. Right? So we'll just, I almost could put an X here next to Joe Chase because he's basically clinched.
Right.
So essentially, the draft will be of the 8 teams that remain, you're picking with the hopes of having the most teams that make it to the championship games. So Joe Chase's first pick will be Team X that he feels is like the number 1 overall pick, the highest probability of getting to the championship game.
If it's the Apple Core, he's going with them.
Well, it could be them. I mean, listen. It
could be Railers. Maybe he's...
The Railers EHLP probably has to be like the odds-on favorite right now, right? So like whoever between the 2 guys that make it there gets the most championship game selections right, ultimately wins the title. But right now, my only focus, Jeff, is get out of this route because this is a dogfight now. So Joe Chase has 72, Kevin Unger has 60, Marc-Andre Dumont has 58, I have 58, and Logan Iliff has 54. Again, I feel like I control my destiny a little bit here because I'm the only one that has the Wolves.
Nice job, bud.
If the Huntsmen win at the EHLP level, The only other person that has it is Joe Chase. I'm not catching him anyways. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So everybody else has the 87s. I pass them all with those points.
There you go.
So listen, I either control my own destiny or my whole destiny just blows up in my face. But I feel
He ain't dead yet, kids. He ain't dead yet.
So I feel okay here.
Okay, good.
Listen, the only other person that has the Express at the EHL level is Marc-Andre Dumont, right? And we're tied in points. But so that's where what the difference between him and I have Railers in the second round. He has Applecore. As I mentioned before, I have Wolves. He has 80s. Like, so you see what I'm saying? When I explain it through, you guys can see how I feel okay.
100%. Yep.
I did text a couple coaches, no pressure.
Please don't lose. My fantasy.
Well, because I feel pressure.
Yeah, you've won all championships at all different levels.
What happens if the Lumberjacks win the EHLP series, Neil?
Nobody gets any points.
They're listening to you saying, "Oh, well, I picked the Wolves," and Vermont's going to be like, "The hell you did."
Jack Lowry and Seth Gustin will most definitely chirp you on that one.
Listen, and I said this earlier, Anthony. Maybe they have, the Avalanche magic that they had last year when the Avalanche were the one that swept Adirondack and then went on to win the division, right? Listen, they already play the role of underdog. They still that role's not changing.
In the words of Liam Sample, the crazy has happened.
Yes, crazy.
Can the crazy happen again?
Yeah. So for those that are following along, again, it's under the media tab on the website. You find Fantasy Challenge. You can see where everyone's at. I have counted the points 4 or 5 times. Okay, I double checked. This is where everyone's at.
There's no cheating.
72, 60, 58, 58, 54. So I think we're good now. We'll jump to what to watch for.
And now here's what to watch for in the EHL and the EHLP.
What to watch for is presented by Flow Hockey, the official streaming platform for your EHL and EHLP action throughout the 2023-2024 season.
So starting things off, in the EHL, I mentioned, I'm going to just read off the schedules, guys, and you just tell me what intrigues you the most, which matchup. All right? So tomorrow, game 1 of each series, Applecore versus Railers, Little Fires versus 87s. Wednesday, game 1, Rangers Express. Game 2 for the Railers and Applecore on Thursday. Game 2, Express Rangers on Thursday. Game 1, Spartans Avalanche, isn't till Thursday. Technically.
What? They're making us wait, huh?
Yeah, technically, if you get a Railers, Applecore, Express, or Rangers sweep, those teams could be done before the Spartans Avalanche even begin. Game 2 for the 87s Little Flyers is also on Thursday night. Fast forward to Friday. Game 3, if we need it for the Applecore Railers and Little Flyers 87s, is just like Tuesday. Those are the only 2 matchups on Friday. On Saturday, game 3 for the Rangers Express would take place if we need it. It would only be game 2 for the Spartans and Avalanche, so we know that. But by Saturday, at least the Central and South Division series will be over, and the North Division series will be just in game 2. So something just to think about. And then on Sunday would be game 3 for Spartans versus Avalanche. So I'm going to start with that, guys, and maybe this is something that I'm stealing from you, but knowing that the finals start on Tuesday the 27th, the fact that the Spartans Avalanche, yes, the fact that Tuesday the 26th, my bad. The fact that the Avalanche and Spartans may go all the way until Sunday the 24th, maybe there's just so much adrenaline right now that it doesn't matter that they're going to have literally one day off if it goes game 3 and then play Tuesday. But this is interesting. The Avalanche did this because they control game 1 and their Warriors series went all the way to yesterday, guys. So they wanted a little bit more rest to get ready for the series. And the Spartans have been done for a few days. So this one, I cannot wait to see what happens in this North Division series.
And I think it also works out because Exeter and Hooksett, they're only like a half hour away from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, about that. Are you saying rest versus rust, Neil?
Oh, rest versus freaking rust, Jeff.
Damn it.
That's Jeff's line.
I don't remember seeing that on Justin's t-shirt for the finals. That didn't make the cut.
No,
Damn
didn't make it.
But I did have a coach text me that the other day.
Yeah.
Love it.
Which series jumps out to each of you guys?
I mean, Raylor's apple cores so damn juicy. I might just free some time tomorrow to drive up to the Wick. So I guess I have to go there.
Raylor's apple core. That's must see
Right?
Flow Hockey TV.
It is 100%. Either come and see it in person or see it on Flow Hockey. If you're close, come in. If you're not, yeah, I think that has to be it. But also Spartans Avs is juicy as all you know what too. Like, that's
Anthony, Little Flyers 87s.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna have to watch it because I'm calling it. But I think lost in all this is that the Little Flyers are the number 4 seed. They do not look like a number 4 seed.
No, they never
And
do.
I think. And I know it's something we've been saying for the last like 2 or 3 years now, but it really does prove just like how packed and how tight, how good this South Division is.
Yeah.
100%.
The series we didn't mention there, Express Rangers for the 4th straight year. So pretty compelling.
Richard Kona Boltons were like, hello? No, picked Express Rangers? Okay.
So as for the EHLP, as we're on this podcast, guys, schedules are getting confirmed. First,
emails?
Yeah, I am. That's for sure. First for the Wolves and Lumberjacks, just to confirm, it will be Wednesday in Laconia, Friday in Vermont, Saturday back in Laconia. That's one email. All right, got to click over here. Then we go to the series between the Railers and the Rangers.
Junior Rangers.
Yes, so they're starting on Wednesday, then playing Thursday, then playing Saturday. And then to wrap things up, Little Flyers versus Huntsman. That's Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry, Neil. Little Flyers versus Huntsman?
Jesus. You know what? These South teams,
Dude,
if we could just have somebody new, Anthony, I would.
It was only a 16-2 margin between games 1 and 2.
If we could have somebody new,
It went
Anthony,
right down to the wire.
Mix up all these names together, okay? 87s versus Huntsman, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I know that's probably the series that stands out to you the most because you're gonna be watching that one as well. This worked out great for you. You get to call 3 games this week, all right? I'll be tuned in to see exactly what it happens between the Wolves and the Lumberjacks, because obviously that means a lot to me for the fantasy challenge.
He'll be watching every minute.
Oh man, and Seth Gustin right now is like, hey, I thought we were friends. I thought we were big time friends. So Listen, Seth, we'll have a great time at the Michigan and Massachusetts combines. I promise you. In Arizona too, when we go to his home state.
He also just said, no, we'll have a great time at Providence.
Yes.
He's like, why are we talking about the off season yet? My season's not over.
That leaves Rangers and Railers for you, Jeff. Sorry.
Oh, yawn. Oh, sorry. Yes. 2 bummy teams right there that just never get anything done. Huh.
But again, we'll be interested to see how they play, knowing that they're both going to be going to Providence no matter what happens.
I was just going to say, you took the words out of my mouth, Kamish. That's the interesting thing. Boring for us as journalists, but
yes.
Hey, great for you both.
Yep. And a little PS next year, there won't be an at-large. That'll be my goal. So the goal is to get to 4 divisions in the EHLP. So, but
no more poverty bids.
Oh my God.
Love that. That's a great one. Poverty
in
bid.
Between the previous episode and this episode, we lost 21 teams that got eliminated. By the time we record next, there'll be 7 more. Sorry. That's terrible math. 6 more. Because we'll be down to 8 teams total, 4 EHL and 4 EHLP, ready to go to the Frozen Finals. So the hope is that we can record that early, but the goal is probably not going to happen early. We'll be trying to drop that podcast for all of you 1 week from today on March 25th, especially if the Seacoast versus Avalanche series goes to 3 games on Sunday. So we have to wait until the series ends, guys. I think it's kind of that simple, right? So our Frozen Finals preview coming 1 week from today. So enjoy the division finals. Like Jeff said, if you can make it in person, you better be there. If not, watch on Flow Hockey. We'll talk to you guys next week.
See you, boys.
Thanks for listening to The E Show, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Learn more about us at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on all of your favorite social media platforms. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when our next podcast episode is released.